Okay, so when you're taking the two lines and you put them like this, you've now created a funnel of the energy. And those that work with feng shui or energy understand that energy comes out the points. Okay, the Merkaba, let's have a look at that. Now, the Merkaba is known for bringing in heaven and earth energies, right? And when I started to look at that, I'm like, okay, bringing in, and I heard a statement somewhere, you know when you hear something and boom, it sticks in you and you're like, oh, there's something to that. I heard somebody say that the Merkaba has been reversed to keep us limited. I'm all, what? But that's the holy sacred Merkaba. You know, what's up? Why? What? So I started asking why, how. And I believe all of us can ask the why, how. You don't have to have a talking to tree connection thing. You can just ask your higher self, ask your inner knowing, because all the information's in there. I just started asking why, how, and playing around with this. And I said, well, you know, even though there's some energy coming in, there's a lot of energy going out in that, the geometry of this design. I'm like, so if you were funneling in heaven and earth energies, wouldn't that be a Merkaba that would actually bring energy in? And then, so you're just seeing my little thought process along here. Then I went into this whole thing about compression. Oh, because you look at the heaven and earth, the male and the female, the masculine and the feminine, compressed into each other. And I went through this whole psychology of, oh, look what they have done to us, the bad guys, the compression, you know, and started making my little lists of how the feminine has been suppressed. And I felt that in my body, and it felt really heavy, that whole victim thing, look what they've done to us. And you know, if you just stay in tune with your body, you can feel what you're on course for. And that did not feel good. And I recognize that, and I go, what's up? Okay, this drains me to think about what they've done to us and that we're victims. So I thought, well, I'm going to look a little beyond that. And then I looked at expansion. I'm like, oh, everything in our universe has compression and expansion and compression. It doesn't mean compression is bad. It's part of the experience. Like a good night's sleep is compression. It's pretty yummy, yeah? For a tree, winter is compression. You know, it's a breathing in, breathing out. And we're going to find that's what creates life, is this in and this out. So now we're going to go on to the Mayan calendar. And some of you have studied that, some of you haven't. A fun one to go to is Ian Lungold online. And he just really shows that we are on a schedule, that everything throughout history has happened right on key. And so what I, at some point, just got, let's look at the cycles. Okay, so there's, those of you that don't know, it's been quite a while, this little journey. And we could have a whole talk just about that. But we're going to look at this in a whole new way. So then I started looking at it vibrationally and saying, you know, these are like different levels of vibration. Let's overlay some color onto those levels. And, you know, like a red wavelength is long and a purple wavelength is short. Let's look at this by overlaying the chakras or the vibration of color onto the Mayan calendar. And then I thought, well, let's do that in the heaven and earth fashion of the Mayan calendar. Let's bring in the masculine and the feminine version of that. And so I was starting to look at the Merkaba like this. And again, I started going, oh, remember that compression, expansion? So I started to see this journey that we're having. Now imagine the funneling of the universal energies and the earth energies, the masculine and the feminine energies coming out both sides of that. And you can see how at this stage of the expansion, it would be feeding the energy into the cellular level. And all the way up, this one's feeding the energy into the regional area. And as you notice, as that expands, it's going into smaller and smaller areas, which would mean the vibration would be getting more intense. So let's just kind of take a fun little trip with that. Here's where I see where we are now. And it didn't hit me till yesterday, because I have a few people that are, you know, about the violet age. And I go, well, yeah, I guess we kind of are in that violet age. So that's what I see we are now. I see this is February of 2011. And what's important with this is when you take the masculine and the feminine, the plus and the minus, and you plug those two in, think about what happens energetically. Think about a car battery. When you have the plus and the minus, and you connect those two polarities, what do you get? A lot of power. So now you have empowered amount of energy. you have turned on all that power, and that is how our system is. You know, I think we have all these abilities within us. We've got the DNA, you know, how spiritual people have been saying, well, we have 12 DNA, and the scientists are like, oh no, that's crap. And then they discovered these other 10 strands of DNA, and they've called them junk DNA. Well, I don't think they're junk. I just don't think we've had enough power to really ignite these. So all of a sudden, the battery is now turned on. And that comes from combining the masculine and the feminine. And then I went into a little meditation of what's next. And I'll either be talking to my trees, or I channel or talk to my higher self, or I'll even talk to my future self or my past. And so this is what I saw. And I saw this ball forming in the middle. And there are two theories on the Mayan calendar with 2 different dates ending. And I heard I purposely not read books over this last 2 years or gone to see speakers, because I had a feeling I was supposed to be getting not other people's opinions, but just this information brought through strictly on its own. But I was at the last Conscious Life Expo, and somebody grabbed my hand and said, I bought you a ticket to the 2012 panel, you're coming. And off they dragged me. And there's all these people sitting up there that I didn't even know who they were. And so they're talking, and you hear things, and you're picking through your grocery cart of, and nothing was really sparking really huge for me. And till I heard that one juicy piece I walked away with, where somebody asked one of the speakers, and I'd already gotten to this point on this, and they asked the speaker, so why do we have 2 endings to the Mayan calendar? And he said, oh, they're both right. One is the sperm going into the egg, and the other is the birth of the baby. And I go, oh, that's what I needed to know for why I'm seeing these 2 designs. Oops. The 2, this right here, and where it was just at the tip, and then it came to the ball. You guys got a sneak preview of slides there. Okay, so that explained to me what the birth of that baby was in the middle and why the 2 different dates. So I started playing around with funnels. Energy goes out of funnel, right? And then I started going, well, what about tornadoes? Energy goes up the funnel. And so as I played with that, I go, when a tornado is spinning down, it's the energy is coming out the point, but as soon as that plus energy, which is the universal, the spirit, the male energy, which is the tornado, as soon as it touches down and makes connection with the minus, the mama energy, it reverses its spin and it pulls up. So I started looking back at this again, and I go, I think that's pure love in the middle. It's that balance. It's full spectrum being of us loving all of ourselves, every color, every layer, our male, our female, just completely owning who we are and loving it, and bringing that together and creating that pure love energy of bringing those 2 polarities together. And I saw that spin of energy now pulling that pure love back through both of those, back through all of our layers and all of our experiences. So one day I'm driving down the road, and I hear God is the creative force in all things. And I'm like, well, did I ask that? I must have asked that, because sometimes I ask questions and I get an answer right away, and sometimes I'll get it 2-3 weeks later, but it came in like someone was answering my question. I'm like, okay. So I just carried that around for a while. God, and I started looking at everything. God's the creative force in all things. And then I started to look at creation, bringing the 2 energies together. So you think of a car battery, the plus and the minus, that universal energies, heaven and earth. Look at our brain, the polarities there, the masculine and the feminine. Your left and your right hands even. Like if you take your left and your right hands, you have a plus hand and a minus hand. You have a giving and a receiving, a male and a female. And when you clap them together, you're creating energy. And when a room really claps like that, you can feel the energy just being created. So anytime you bring the mama and the papa together, you're creating. And I'm like, the creative force in all things is maybe that not just a papa thing. Is it a papa-mama thing? Well, let's look around at where else we can see the same pattern, because the micro and the macro. Planetarily, there's in the middle, I'm seeing that in between as love. Look at our heart space, the masculine and the feminine. In the middle is the in-between, that's love. I'm seeing the left and the right brain, the pineal gland in the middle, love. And you've seen this design before, perhaps, see the two pyramid, the way the energies funnel in and feed into that middle. And I started seeing it everywhere. In spirit form, in physical form, the in-between. A proton, an electron, you have the neutron in between. And we're really going to learn some stuff about ourselves from that neutron in this talk. Awake and asleep, you know, that magical in-between state. pH, acid, alkaline, it's about the balance, heaven and earth, us, future and past, now. There's this magic in that in-between of bringing the two polarities together. Oneness, separativeness, sameness, father, mother, baby, light, dark, blend. I bet you guys can even start making your own little list of finding that magic in the in-between. The micro and the macro. So I started to go, okay, I get where this is in our cells, and I get where it is in our brains and our chakras, but where is this design on our planet where it's affecting the vibration of our planet? And I wake up one morning and all of a sudden I go, aha, because I had heard that there were a discovery of these new pyramids all over our planet. Well, they've been there all along. They're not like they just were constructed. They were just newly discovered because of satellites and different technology that we have now. And so I started looking at these pyramids. So here's an example of one. And we used to think they were mountains. We call them Pyramid Mountain. And it turns out they're actual pyramids. And the reason that we don't see them is because there's so much vegetation growing over them. We're out on the desert. You would see the pyramids quite clearly. So who put them there? Why are they covering our planet? And how do they affect the energy of our planet? Well, here's a little hint. So universal energies, spirit, it's not visible to us anyway at this time, most of us. So earth energy, mass, is visible. So the bottom pyramid is what we see on our planet. He's all, aha. So imagine these pyramids all over our planet. And then there's the pyramid on the top that we don't see. And there's this, now remember these images? Yeah, do you think they know what's going on? See, the thing with these ancient mystery schools, the Illuminati, the Masons, they know, they've been in the know where the majority of people haven't. Energetically, they've been in the know. And that's helped them to be able to kind of be top of the energy collecting. Okay, so now, the institutions of the Illuminati, all these institutions have been here to bring us the experience of compression. So we can shift how we look at that from these are the bad guys to they have done a fantastic job of helping bring us the experience of compression. And you're going to learn more why we actually even wanted that experience and how these guys actually are excellent at what they've done. So let's look at some of these institutions. And remember, we have worshipped them, many institutions, whether it's schools or medical or you know, we look to them as they have all the answers and we know nothing, which is another form of worshiping something. Our energy's been going to that. It's not been, again, it's not been a bad thing. It's been part of the process. And by the way, look at that cross. That was far before the current religion use of the cross. And you remember how we talked about a circle being infinite, no beginning, no end? It was a way to finite that circle, to limit the energy of that circle. Gives you a whole different feeling about, okay. So again, they're not the bad guys. They were part of bringing what we wanted to experience. And they've been our belief system. And remember, though, great God of the ceiling fan. Just keep that in mind. And it's, of course, your choice on this journey if you choose to give your energy or to keep it for yourself.